Welcome to the world united. Welcome to the world united.
Now the panel discussion on spirituality business management. The last panel discussion on this theme. In fact, the second one on day 2 of the World Parliament on Spirituality North America. The panel discussion topic is on how prosperity consciousness is or can make a paradigm shift in the spiritual evolution of mankind. How important is prosperity consciousness? In the name of spirituality, if you observe, many a time, most of the people across the world think, assume, and believe that when you become spiritual, you become poor. Spirituality is against prosperity. Spirituality invokes poverty. Many people think like that. So how exactly we can club this prosperity consciousness into the spiritual well-being of a person? This question is for you, dear Mr. Alan Collins.
Well, in our work, in the work, you know, that Diane is my wife, and I know that you know that. We function from creating, and you know, like, so prosperity is obviously a creative process, because a lot of people may not think of themselves as prosperous, and they may have many reasons for that. So one would have to create prosperity. Prosperity in your well-being. Prosperity could be financially and wealth. It could be in your health. But it, you know, so to have a prosperity consciousness is really, from my view of things, is seeing that everything's always growing, and it fits in, I think, also to evolution. We're always evolving. Prosperity is really part of evolution, because in evolution, if things are evolving, it's always growing, it's expanding, and new things are coming, old things are falling away. And so prosperity is very natural, actually. But what happens, you know, people fall into what we call in quantum think least action pathways, automatic mechanical thoughts about why things can't work, what's going to go wrong, how things don't work, why it shouldn't work, why it didn't work before. And we get in, that becomes a habit. And so part of consciousness is being able to see that, to see the habitual thinking and being able to catch it when it's there and recognize, well, wait a minute, that's not the truth. That's just a habitual thought that's running through me. I didn't choose that thought. It came along. And once you can catch that, you can then think to yourself, well, what am I going to create here? What is my intent here? And that's where the prosperity comes in. So prosperity doesn't necessarily mean more of something. For me, prosperity is part of the evolution of everything. And so it's a natural phenomenon. But, you know, I guess it has to be distinguished, and that's what we're doing right here in this moment. But so that's how I, you know, very simply see, you know, thanks to your question, that's how I see prosperity. Prosperity is part of evolution. It's natural. It's there. And, you know, we're just growing all the time. It's a natural phenomenon to just grow and develop. Maybe people lose their way because they get stuck in the habitual thoughts of why the things can't work, why things are the way they are, how terrible life is, how terrible the world is, how terrible politics are, you know, why I can't do this. And then, you know, it gets a habit in business. I hear it all the time. People are sitting in meetings and person puts in a new idea. Oh, let's do this. And then automatically you'll get, wow, we tried that last year. It will never work. It didn't work the last time we did it. And we get in the habit of that. And we're just not consciously aware that we're actually doing that. But when we catch it, we're not in it anymore. Just the act of noticing it, is enough to get you out of it. And so that's how I see the prosperity really is part of evolution, I would say.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alan. And I say, yeah, the same question for you. How to actually remove this wrong belief system that spiritual awakening leads to poverty, or poverty and spirituality goes together, something like that. How exactly the prosperity consciousness or abundant consciousness is a part of the spiritual consciousness? How do we actually make people understand these two seemingly opposite dimensions of understanding to become whole? What is your take on it?
Thank you for asking me that. I think what I've experienced in my life is that many spiritual people that I know feel that they have to give things away. They don't see the value in themselves. And I think that that's it. I look at prosperity as an outcome. And part of that outcome is that you need to see the value of who you are and what you are giving, and that there must be some kind of an exchange, whether it's money or a bag of potatoes. There needs to be some kind of an exchange for what's happening, because that exchange then creates commitment in the other person. Prosperity to me is something that people have difficulty getting because they want it, but they don't say that I want it. They say I need it. I need it. I must have it. I need it to survive. And the problem with needing something is that it creates an obligation in us. It has that feeling of obligation. I need to do this. And immediately as humans, we resist obligation. So while we are needing this and wanting to bring it to us, at the same time, we're pushing it away because we're resisting what we need to do or what we must do. And part of that is just really changing our choices, changing our decisions, changing the things that we're doing, because as Alan said, we can't do that because we did that last year. But at the same time, people want to do the same thing over and over and then expect some kind of a different result. And that's never going to happen, because that's like the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting something different to happen. But what I do notice about a lot of people who do holistic work and healing work is that they don't see the value in what they do. But they want others to see the value in what they do. So how can they bring prosperity into their life if they don't see who they are and what they've been gifted with and be able to use it in the proper way? I mean, even if we went back to shamanic days, in order to get the shaman to help you or to heal you, you would have to do something or give something or exchange something. That's just the way it is. People don't value free. They want free, but they don't value free. And the one thing that I've realized is free is very expensive. So free is not something that people want to line their closets with stuff that's free, but they don't actually do anything with it. It has no value to them whatsoever because they didn't commit to it. They didn't make an exchange for it. They didn't really want it. And if they did want it, they didn't know how to get it properly. So it's valueless for them. So prosperity is bringing things into our lives that actually have value to us, and having that law of economics that has value for me. So therefore I must give something to have it, and I can make that commitment to then use it. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, wonderful inputs, I say. Thank you very much. And over to you, Alan. I have got a question for you. What could be the spiritual approaches? What could be the real wise approaches from the dimension of spirituality? How to bring this prosperity consciousness in the mankind? Because many people who are really poor, who really feel deficient, who feel the void inside always, are those people who have not activated the prosperity consciousness within, which is actually a part of spiritual consciousness. And what could be your take on the spiritual approaches of awakening this prosperity consciousness and break the ice of these mindsets which work against them?
Well, first off, I don't really know what spirituality is, really. It's a word that is used. I'm more, I more resonate with consciousness, you know, with people being aware and being consciously aware, which I would consider being like aware of your own awareness. And I would call that like conscious awareness. It's like where people have a personal awakening. What I think is, even though I'm a consultant and a coach, and I work with lots of executives and all over the world and have done for many years, as well as in other industries as well, in my own businesses, you know, in the beauty business, I worked in the beauty business for 25 years and I, you know, trained many, many people in that business and worked with many people. But what I've noticed is that you got to take care of yourself. I mean, I just don't think, I mean, you know, there's, I can make some, you know, in my coaching, I can catch things and I can be very wise and point out to a lot of good things to people, and it may awaken them for a moment. And it may, for some, go on and transform their lives forever. You know, sometimes you never actually know what your speaking is going to do for somebody. Over years. I mean, people have come up to me and they've said, oh, Alan, you said this to me 20 years ago and it did this for me. And I had no idea what I said or that it even had that level of impact. So I don't put a lot of attention on that. I try to be myself. And I think the real challenge is for us all to really make sure that we are in good shape, mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever that means, consciously working on ourselves, developing that sense of self, getting in touch with who we are, what our purpose is, doing the right thing, you know, being consciously aware enough to know that when you know, if you say something to somebody, whether you're hurting them, whether you're damaging them, to be, that's the level of conscious awareness that I'm really interested in, is that in the moment, you're aware of your surroundings, you're aware of the people around you. You know that we're always giving off an experience, no matter what, we can't help ourselves. You know, if you walk down Fifth Avenue in New York, you know, people are giving you an experience. Oh, I like that coat. I like her hair. She's got great shoes. Oh, what a great outfit. We're always giving people an experience of ourselves. So, but by virtue of that, the question is, what experience do I want to give people? And I think that I had heard, this was many years ago, and this really, really struck me. I was listening, it was Richard Gere actually, and he was on a radio show, I can't remember the host's name. And the host was speaking to him about his love life and all of that kind of stuff in his movies, the kind of stuff you think about for Richard Gere. But at the end, he said to him, how come the Dalai Lama? Because Richard Gere was very influential in bringing the Dalai Lama to the West. He says, how come the Dalai Lama? And he said something very, very, very profound. He said, when you're in the presence of somebody that is egoless, you become egoless. And that really struck me, because that's when I saw you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to be able to develop yourself, because I've been around a lot of gurus in my time. Well, not a lot, but I've been around certain gurus a lot of times. And what I've noticed is when you are in the presence of an enlightened master, you wake up. They don't have to say anything. They don't have to do anything. They can just be there. Just their presence alone is enough for you to have an awakening. And I think if we can get to that place within ourselves, the whole world's going to be fine. You don't have to do anything for anybody. Take care of yourself and it will impact whoever you're with. No matter what you do, you don't have to say anything, you don't have to do anything. That would be sufficient.
Yeah, wonderful inputs, Alan. No, you really strike the chords. The more the ego in a person, more easy and more better we can deal him.
Say that again.
The more the ego a person has, more easy it is to deal him. to deal a egoless person is almost impossible.
Well, I don't take it literally. I'm not taking the
Not
ego
complete.
part literally. What I got from it, I mean, there's value in the ego. I'm not putting down the ego. I think the ego has a place. But it's a question of whether you have the ego or the ego has you. So I didn't really take that so literally. What I got from that communication was, you work on yourself. Work on when you are in an enlightened state, when your presence is there, when you're 100% present, when you're consciously aware of yourself and your surroundings, and you're operating from that place, other people will get in that place with you. And that's what I notice in my own life is that, people will have an insight or they'll wake up to something. And I'll wake up to something myself when I'm in the presence of somebody that's there. It's not really I'm not talking about the egos per se. It's just being when you are in that bright state, in that conscious state, other people are they get in that conscious state with you. And you don't have to do anything. That's that's the sort of what I meant.
Exactly. The word spirituality has to be replaced by a different word, maybe the energy of consciousness, energy of understanding. I think these words may be a better words, because the word spirituality is much used, much overloaded. So people are unable to understand what exactly is spirituality.
I have no idea what spirituality. I mean, I can interpret what it means, but do I have like a real deep understanding of it? No. I think spirituality, okay, what does that mean? The spirit, yeah, maybe there's somebody visiting me from up there or over there, blessing me, guiding me around, helping me out when I'm in trouble. I don't actually know what it means. I gotta be honest with you. It doesn't really mean anything, frankly, but consciousness does, because
exactly
that is actually a state.
Same inputs from you. I say, what could be the real approaches from a holistic dimension, or what you call a spirituality, at least for today, from the holistic consciousness, which is otherwise called as spirituality? What could be the approaches to enhance the prosperity consciousness in the mankind? Because prosperity includes spirituality. It's a holistic word. Prosperity is not about finance. Prosperity is not about bank balance. Prosperity is all about health, all about many things, many dimensions of wholesomeness. So what could be the real approaches to make, create or enhance the prosperity consciousness among the mankind, so that the world can be even more peaceful, even more harmonious?
Well, first of all, when I think of spirituality, I think of it as not something, people say all the time, I want to become more spiritual. And I say, it's not something that you become, you already are. And it's just how much do you understand that about yourself? And I think that the biggest part of spirituality is really putting yourself first and self-love. It's understanding how to love yourself, because when you can do that, so let's use a mother as an example. I like using metaphors. So let's use a mother as an example. She spends her life looking after her children and her husband, and her priority for looking after herself is usually right under take out the garbage. She doesn't really take care of herself. And yet, like when I think of most of my clients, they're women, the children have left home now, or maybe there's been a divorce or whatever, and they have no idea who they are. They don't know what they like. They don't know what makes them tick. And if I say to them, and I've done it many times, tell me 10 things that you love about someone in your family, and they can immediately do it. And then I'll say, well, tell me 5 things that you love about yourself. And never can they get past maybe 1 or 2, and they're kind of forcing themselves to do that. So part of it is really self-reflection and introspection, and understanding that you didn't get this far in life because of your weaknesses. You got this far in life because of your strengths. So it's time to focus on your strengths and a little less on what you're not and a little more on who you are. And understand that even ingenuity, you know, I'll point out parts of their lives, you know, this situation happened and how did you handle that? And they'll tell you, and I say, you don't think that's ingenious? You don't think that makes you a survivor? You don't think that, you look at the pain that you had and the stress that it gave you, you live with that, but you don't really look at all of your strengths that you use to get through it. So really my piece is to take that mind map that they've got and to just show them the different landscape. Can't change the facts. The facts are the facts, but we can change on how you look at it. So the one thing that I like to do with people, and I even did with myself, is I looked at my life and I thought I was a victim of it. And now I look at it and I'm like the superhero. And it was just really about learning to love myself and knowing who I am. So if I'm walking down the street and someone says, "Oh, you're beautiful," I say thank you. But in my mind, I'm like, I know. And if someone says, and not in a really conceited way, I know I'm a beautiful person, right? And if they say, you know, you're really good at this or you're really good at that, I say thank you. But in my mind, I know, because I know who I am. And it's really about learning to know who you are. And that's super important. And people die in this lifetime never having a clue who they've been looking at every day in the mirror. And that's sad. And I think really stepping into spirituality is it's self-love. It's understanding and valuing who you are, not looking for it from outside, but seeing it inside yourself.
Wonderful.
Wonderful, I say, wonderful. Here with we have grandmother Parisha. So I request grandmother Parisha to participate and get into the discussion on the spirituality and business management and the spiritual approaches of prosperity consciousness. We have two wonderful speakers here, Alan Collins and Ayse Hogan. So over to grandmother Parisha.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Yugandhar. Alan, I would like to actually explore a little bit more with you. I so was enhanced with your presentation. I have studied and been involved with quantum physics long before anybody even knew the name of it. And in the early years, I was accused of being totally crazy, okay, because of it. So we've had quantum physics for a good 110 years or more, and there have been wonderful people who have brought it forward. And I find it that gives us, I feel that everything we've ever questioned about the forbiddens in religious scripture can be explained now through quantum physics and the sciences that we have. But I'm a little bit confused when you say that you don't understand spirituality, but you understand and accept it as all consciousness. So can you help me understand your definition of spirituality a little bit more?
I don't know. Look, I can't really because I don't really know what it is. I would say, look, you know what Aisha said. You know, it's basically getting to know yourself. You know that there's. I think we have a soul and we have a spirit. The soul maybe is which is what goes on into other lifetimes, into other eras, into wherever, you know, but the soul goes on. The soul is an endless journey. The spirit is where we are today in this world. And, you know, so to be spiritual, I would imagine, if I had to create an interpretation for it for myself, to be in good spirits, to come from your heart, to come from a good place within, to be in good spirit, to me, is spirituality. If you're in good spirit, other people will be in good spirit around you. And you can create good spirit all over the place because you know, if it's authentic, if it's genuine, you're not trying to force it or push it. But if you're in good spirits, you know, that's a great way to go through life. And other people will benefit from your good spirit. And I would say maybe that for me is spirituality.
Okay, that's very clear. In consciousness, what I have found in the many discussions I've had with very, very powerful scientists that sometimes doubt and are very closed, almost we could consider them atheists, that there is always the contrast or the challenge to spirituality. But spirituality, can we look at spirituality is consciousness? Because in quantum and in the very theories that we are now bringing forward, the sciences, whether it be the physical science as well as what we're looking at as the cosmos and the sciences, all of the sciences are helping us to get the bigger picture of reality.
Right.
Okay, we have been suppressed from that. We all know that for how many generations and eons. And all of a sudden the curtain lifts and there we are with the whole universal knowledge of you and I and what this body is and is not, and what is eternal and what is not. When I look at, in your question of spirituality, I bring it up not to challenge you, but to actually challenge myself again, because I explore this constantly and have my own questions about it. And I took up with the sciences 50, 60 years ago because I was born in a traditional Cherokee family and in Native perspective. I had a much bigger and broader perspective of us, the being, the life, and us as planetary experience, right? And when I went out in the world, got kind of blocked by religions and people's thoughts, and I didn't know how to talk to them. So in order to explain what I felt I had found very valid, I turned to the sciences. And in science, I found a means and a way to explain what was the unbelievable to a very logical, believable ability. But for me, with spirituality, I see it that moment when all of the sciences and when all of the consciousness that the sciences help stimulate, the opening up of our minds and the tremendous power we have of the brain. I've been with brain research right along with the rest. Okay, for me, spirituality has come to be the divinity of myself, the connection to something so powerful, we haven't even got the sciences yet to describe that. And we can go back as a tablet reader, and I read the ancient due to ancient translations on tablets and things all over our world. All of the tablets keep giving us closer and closer to the fact that there is some place in evolution to where we did have that knowledge, that we were exercising with a much greater understanding of our universal being. So could consciousness, I mean, I'm talking to two skeptics here. Consciousness to me says now I can walk away from all of the restrictions that says I'm not, and I'm this and that. And we've been brainwashed to a whole lot of suppressiveness, right? So right now, to me, consciousness and how I'm exploring spirituality is actually seeing in everything, there is a part of me, the everlasting or the eternal or whatever the many names may be, that actually has become awakened to the fact that I am eternal, that there is something undescribable even in the advanced sciences that I constantly pursue, that says that there is a presence in that, a love in that, something that is so moving when I can obtain it in my meditation, my breathing, and the many physical practices I do to arrive to that place of nothingness. Just no name, no title, no physical stamps at all, okay? And when it comes out, to me, I have come to accept with the many, many beautiful people I've worked with in my life. Now I think I've touched spirituality. I have spirit. To me is as Anise, you had said, we're all spiritual. Everything is spirit. If we say spirit means the invisible, the undescribable, the whatever, we're all that, okay? But right now, to actually allow myself to be divine, allow myself to actually be connected to that, to allow myself, as science shows me, there's no God up there crossing off my bad good like Santa Claus, you know what I'm saying? That I am allowed to explore, make my mistakes, and come to understand that I have remorse, that I do not want to ever do that again, to know that I have to forgive myself. To me, when I say spirituality, and I break down the words sometimes to actually say, you know, what is spirit? What is the reality that we add to it? What I'm experiencing is consciousness, but that consciousness has told me that I am something more to explore and something far more than I can find words or my sciences can help me describe. So when we say, and I know Dr. Yugandhar is on that same page to me, we're still trying to give a definition to spirituality. And I appreciate in everything that you've shared with us, you give us a whole different few other pages to add to the exploring of that. You really did a fantastic presentation. And so when you question spirituality, I hope you remember me, and you know that what we'll find in all of that science is something there that we can't put words to, that only we can feel. And it is in that feeling that I have attached the word spirituality. And I feel so privileged to have actually been able to listen and view your presentation. So I thank you.
Let me just say something.
Yes.
Can I just say something about that? Because I don't think it's actually even useful to try to define spirituality. I don't think we can, because the instruments that we're using to define it are way smaller than what it is. So it's like, I don't think we can. I think we would only shrink it if we defined it. But I'd like to make a distinction here, just listening to you.
Yes.
Because I don't want to collapse consciousness and spirituality. I think both of them have a unique value and a unique purpose, and are unique in and of themselves. And so I was thinking about, when you were speaking, I think spirituality is actually a human phenomenon, where humans are spiritual, but consciousness is way, way, way beyond that. Consciousness is everything, everywhere in the universe. It's way, way beyond. And I think, and spirituality is certainly inside of consciousness. And sometimes consciousness is inside of spirituality, but not always.
I hear.
And I sort of leave it like that.
I hear it, and I totally get where you're going with that. It's like I said, I feel it is a physical. I totally agree with you. We as physical beings are a physical existence. I do not believe that I'm the body or we're the body. I do not believe that. Okay, but in the exploring of this relationship with body, okay, we are awakening to its huge heritage of so much more than what it is. And I agree, that's what I'm calling spirituality, that awakening to there's something far more universal, far more powerful than there are words yet. And I can only feel it when I go into deep meditation in a place of such peace that I can let go of the body as well as the world and actually touch it. So I appreciate what you shared very much. And I'm very happy that we've come to some conclusion. We can agree with it right now. Okay. And with you, Agnès, I have had such excitement listening to your perspectives on allowing ourselves the self-awareness. And when the very nature of what you teach and how you express it is such a wonderful place right now as to where we are as humanity, exploring the actual real value of ourselves. And I can only share as a woman with you how I'm 80 years old right now. Okay, I'm celebrating my 80th year. And when I go places and somebody compliments me, they're of my very nature, especially my tradition, we are taught to be very humble. Okay, and I've had 20 years of exposure to that. So just here in my 80th year, okay, I have actually had people say that to me. And then, every day we look at ourselves in the mirror. We're not aware of the transition. We don't know if we're looking older. Finally, one day you kind of look in there and say, who's that? Who is that looking back at me, right? But I actually have had people say to me, grandmother, you're so youthful and you have retained, my husband's actually said to me, he feels I'm more beautiful now than the day that he met me. And he thought I was the most beautiful woman in the world, right? And I, like you, have actually heard myself, surprisingly so at first, okay, say, I know, okay. And when I said that, I actually felt giggling inside, like, what is that all about, And then it's like, just to be able to acknowledge without hesitance what you're sharing and what you're showing is for us to acknowledge the fact that we know when somebody compliments us, when somebody tells me, they have no idea of how I could possibly know all these things that I know, And how could you speak on this, this, or that? How could you possibly know that in this lifetime? And I don't know. I've always been hungry, thirsty, and I wanted to learn. I will go in any avenue of curiosity. I will take off, and I want to know the answers. And so when I do that and they say that to me, I feel a little smile inside myself. And all I could answer to them at that point is, I do. I know that I know all of this, and I do understand, you know. And at this point, I don't feel any superiority, but I feel a graciousness in myself to give myself credit for the fact, the many hours, the many days, the many sacrifices to find the knowledge, the work that went into that. It's like, it's okay. And like I hear you saying, suddenly we awaken to the permission to give ourselves the acknowledgement of what we know we do work out ourselves and to do. I feel that if I look youthful for 80 years old, it's the many hours of meditation that I attend every day. I feel that I actually lived out of this world and actually hover someplace in a timelessness. So I'm looking forward to live to 140. I want to live to 140 years this way.
And
so
you
it's
probably will. I think your beauty is more than that. And I think I can only aspire to one day be sitting somewhere like you are and someone calling me grandmother. But I sit and I think that really that is your beauty. And yeah, we're given this face. That's not the beauty. That the beauty is understanding where we came from and who we are and how we can love ourselves and love humanity and show compassion and be open to learning. And you know, when you said I'm so hungry to learn, I remember when I first got into learning all of these things, I wish that something could just touch me on my head and let me know it all, because every question I had led to another question. And when I was back in the corporate world, you could come into my house at night and my living room was just books and things that I would just be constantly trying to take information in and going, oh my God, am I ever just going to get all of this in there? And I finally realized that it wasn't just about knowing the knowledge. It was about acting on it. And I kind of take this knowledge like gas in the car. You know, my car could be full of gas sitting in the driveway, but if I don't drive it, it doesn't matter. So it's about actually taking it and going somewhere with it. So I think that, you know, your beauty is it's your essence. It's not how you look, which you are very youthful looking, but it's absolutely the essence of you. And I think that that essence is what shines out of you. And that's what shows you so youthful and so beautiful.
Well, I could only say the same for you. When you talk, your emanations are absolutely glorious to watch. So you've come to a very beautiful place in yourself. I've strived all my life to understand people. I have such what some people call an unnatural love of humanity. I have such a reaction to suffering, and I will do whatever it takes to relieve that. And that's been my dedication. And I've traveled all over the world to explore religions and beliefs and worship of people, to understand them, not to have any objection or have a judgment about it, but just to be with them. And I think that a lot of what I see as the inner emanations that come from me is I am at family and home worshiping with people of this earth in every place. And I take a bit of that to myself. And I feel whatever has collected of that in these 80 years is exactly the skin I'm wearing today. It is that love, the acceptance, the celebration, the meditations, the touching, and the love and the extending of that relationship. And I teach that. I believe, like you, I have had many successes in business. I tried the business world because I wanted to explore what that was all about. Okay. And I had wonderful, powerful successes with that. And I have learned in every phase of life, which I'm sure is what you're learning, okay, or have already known. We're all the same, aren't we? We're all human, and we all have these different goals that we're reaching for. But until we come to, like what you say, that whole inner part of ourselves, would not matter what our outer world environment or activities are. Actually, we are stand alone and individual in them. And we bring out of it what's important to ourselves, don't we?
We do. And we are individual in them, but we're also very connected. And I think of us as like all threads from the same cloth. And when I see the hatred and the protesting and the different things that are going on in the world right now, to me, it's like, how can an arm hate a leg? How can a branch hate another branch from the same tree?
Absolutely.
Like, it makes absolutely no sense to me. So I think that it's about widening our perspective and stop thinking here. Sometimes I think of myself as I'm on the other side of the mirror watching me like live my life. So 99.9% of me is like on the other side of the mirror. And I try to watch my life in that way and say, you know what? No, you're doing the wrong thing. That's, you're not respecting yourself. You're not putting your boundaries in. I think the one thing about spirituality is that sometimes some people, they interpret it in a very different way. And it's about, oh, I have to just give of myself. And I say, well, you're not a rechargeable battery. Like, what are you giving to yourself?
That's right.
Right? What are you giving to yourself? And we get so caught up in what we have that we don't realize that this is home. In our heart, this is home. And all this is a house, but I'm not like, I might own it, but I don't own it. Like, it's not coming anywhere with me. So it's here. And when I leave, it will still be here. So to me, this is a lease, but it's about really finding that inner, the inner value of saying, you know what? The experiences that I'm living are experiences because they're all towards giving me the tools that I need to do something bigger. I'm filling my tool belt with all these beautiful things that I'm learning. And I think about our experiences like walnuts. Some of us have a big bag of walnuts and some of us have a little bag of walnuts, and all of those are our experiences. And if we would just crack open the walnuts and eat the lesson, the meat inside, and throw away the shell, that seems to be what we all focus on, we would all be much further along.
I hear you. I like the reference that you made to the conditions we have today and what COVID virus has brought, and how our scientists are not really even being able to give us a clear picture of what we're looking at or what we're trying to handle here. All of the particular challenges that our world is in today. And I feel that out of the chaos has to come the dream or the intention and the clarity of where we're going. I witnessed how science and religion are starting to not be separate, but actually explain and have a sense of joining to where we're going and where we can take this now. And I want to say that both you and Alan are so precious to us in joining us here in our United World Parliament. Dr. Yugandhar's vision and we have to come together in that. And we both realized we were receiving lots of communication before we actually sat down and discussed it, that we need to unite our forces here. But we need you all as well. We need every one of you. How will we get the message out? How can we be strong? If it was up to the two of us, it would be done. Okay, and we need the many of you to add your energy and your input to it. So what you have added is priceless and just so magnificent, appreciated. Okay, and like I said, please look at how, if any interest you have and this has touched your heart, please see how you can continue to help in actually helping us see what the next season and the next year will bring, because you have messages and you have total intent to actually help us make the world what we can. We can have a world where intelligence is available and applied. We have nothing but emotional hystericalness going on right now. And you have to have a place to where you can enter into the silence of yourself in that and start hearing things that make sense. And I agree with you. The fact that people think that separately we're doing anything, we're destroying ourselves by separatism. We are inclusive. My pursuit of understanding the oneness that we speak of, I'm still in the process of exploring that. I understand it on the scientific level. I just am looking for the proof, I guess, in physical daily matters day to day. But please find in your heart to stay with us and let us look for another season where you again can bring the tremendous enlightenment that you shared with us. And I am so deeply appreciated. And I know Dr. Yugandhar is delighted as well. So very, very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, grandmother. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Ayse.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot
Yeah.
for joining this beautiful event. In fact, the event becomes beautiful with the presence of beautiful people.
Thank
So it is
you.
beautiful
Thanks for doing this.
people who make beautiful events. So thanks a lot for adding your beauty to it. Thanks once again.
Thank
Thank
you. What a huge undertaking and a fabulous job. Thank you for including me, including us.
We couldn't do it without you.
Yeah,
Ciao.
exactly.
you.
Thank you, I say. So next year
Bye.
we are going to have even more series of transformation events. We are titling it as Global Transformation Festival Series. We have taken up the project for whole year with 10,000 speakers across the world, nation-wise. So like we have done continent-wise this year, World Parliament on Spirituality with 1,000 plus speakers. The speakers already came from more than 170 countries till this hour. So definitely we are going to cover the another 30 countries to complete the vision of this event, to have speakers from 200 plus nations. So, and most importantly, the thoughts that you all have expressed, each one of you, are magnanimous. And this will be the base to ponder upon in the coming days, the coming months and years, so that all your thoughts will be implemented for global spiritual awakening in an even more bigger way. So the Global Transformation Festival Series, I welcome both of you again to take active role, not only just as a speaker, but your energy is much more required to amplify the ongoing grand spiritual renaissance. So we had only Renaissance period 500 years back, especially in Europe. But now the real spiritual renaissance has started. That's how the spiritual master circle across the world is witnessing it. So I welcome once again both of you to play an active role in the year 2021 in the Global Transformation Festival Series. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you. I say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh.
Bye, everybody.
I would like to take a moment, Dr. Yugandhar, to thank our moderator. You have been beautiful, young woman, and you have made this day very enjoyable. And we thank all of our staff that has been actually making sure that we have had the success of what we've enjoyed today. So know that our blessings are abundant and each one of us our contribution to that. May your week and your days be beautiful. Osio.